for 2.4.
Well, now there is research that backs them up. And even more exciting, a new treatment that seems to do for obese people what they can't do all by themselves.
You'll never know how it feels until you notice that people would look or laugh or, you know they're saying something. Because of your size, little kids look at you like you're some kind of monster or something. And, you know, everybody has feelings. And everybody, you know, has a heart. And everybody cries. And it hurts when, you know, people laugh at you or try to put you down.
I never thought that I would get this big, gain this much weight. And it was just, I looked in the mirror one day and it was just overwhelming. I want to be normal again, and it's not normal. It isn't normal. It doesn't feel normal. Your actions aren't normal. People do not relate to you normal.
Donna Watson and Scott Glazier suffer from one of America's most common health problems, obesity. At over 400 pounds, they're at the extreme end of a national trend. The condition of being overweight has increased 30% over the last decade. 1 out of every 3 Americans is now clinically obese, which means 1/3 of our population weighs at least 20% more than doctors say they should weigh based on their height. The greater the weight, the greater the impact on health and the quality of life.
There's so many things that people take for granted, like buying their clothes. I have to sew clothes to fit me. And I thank God I can sew. I've slept in a recliner for 2.5, almost 3 years now. Because when I lay down in the bed, I just feel like my weight is pushing up to my throat and my lungs, and I just can't breathe. I think 2 weeks is the longest I ever stayed on a diet, because it was just more than I could handle.
Donna Watson's words have a familiar ring. Most overweight people have tried diets many times, and they lose weight. The problem is they don't keep the weight off. Now, for those of us who are quick to lay blame, consider this. The most recent clinical studies show that over 95% of people who use diets to control their weight gain it all back within 5 years. This is an astonishing failure rate. And yet most people still believe that the cause of obesity is a lack of willpower or discipline. But for those so grossly overweight that their health is in danger, can a lack of willpower alone explain a lifelong addiction to food? Well, doctors now believe that the brain chemistry of obese people signals their body to overeat. It's kind of like a fat thermostat that's set too high. Well, they're now beginning to lower that thermostat with medications. And for those who have tried everything else, this new treatment offers hope.
Were you having any problems with your cholesterol?
Scott Glazier once lost 150 pounds on a liquid diet, only to gain back the weight a year later because he couldn't change his eating habits. Now he's joined an experimental weight loss program here at the Center for Nutrition and Preventive Medicine in Charlotte, North Carolina. Here, the basic approach to obesity is a medical one.
I think we have to, number one, address it as a chronic illness, realize that a chronic illness is treated long-term. And I think taking obesity and applying the same principles that we use for diseases such as high blood pressure and diabetes is the key issue.
Doctors Roy Blank and Don Schumacher, the center's medical directors, still prescribe better diet and exercise, but they've begun to use an important new therapy, a powerful combination of medications that alter the brain's chemistry and actually change the way people like Scott think about food. It was the invention of clinical pharmacologist Michael Weintraub, whose specialty is drugs and their effect on disease.
The drugs are working on the appetite centers of the brain. When that pressure to eat is removed, people are much more relaxed, can pay a lot better attention to the behavior modification, the diet, and the exercise.
Most diet drugs increase the production of specific chemicals in the brain, whose function is to stimulate the nervous system. One of the results is a loss of appetite, but the amount of drugs needed to do that often made people feel agitated and on edge. Weintraub realized that one diet drug, fenfluramine, didn't share these uncomfortable side effects because it suppressed appetite using a different pathway in the brain. It increased the release of the chemical serotonin, whose function is linked to mood change. The theory was to combine fenfluramine with phentermine, a central nervous system stimulant. By using these two different drugs, Weintraub thought he could reduce the dose of each. Side effects would decrease, but the combination would make the drugs more potent. It worked. His 4-year study brought the most promising results for obesity treatment in decades. His patients lost 15% of their weight and kept it off as long as they took the drugs. So far, the doctors at the Charlotte Nutrition Center have duplicated Dr. Weintraub's success. Theirs is the largest study in the nation, with over 1,300 patients.
Well, that's really good. You started out, you remember where you started out?
Yeah, almost 5.
Since Scott Blazier entered the program in September, he's lost more than 50 pounds. And for Donna Watson, who has failed with every other diet, the loss of 30 pounds at the Charlotte Center was her first victory in a lifelong battle.
I don't think I've ever lost 30 pounds before, ever. Life is full of hope now. This is the first time that I've ever felt like that maybe I really could lose some weight and be a normal person.
With medication suddenly helping obese people think and eat as normal people do, sensible diets are no longer the torture they were in the past. Jim Stankovic recently joined the Obesity Research Center at St. Luke's Roosevelt Hospital in New York City, which uses the new drug combination.
You know what? Every diet's going to require eating the right foods, including this one. The difference is you have help doing it. I have that one chicken breast or that one chicken thigh or whatever, and I had enough of it. It's enough. It's just enough. It's so hard to explain. It's enough.
Jim Stankovic's new attitude was reflected by some patients in the Charlotte study who had spent several months to a year taking the medication. They reported not only a decrease in appetite, but a fundamental change in their thinking about food.
I can even skip a meal and I don't even think about it. It's the reverse when I was not on the medication. You ate because it was there. And now our focus is not on food. Our focus is somewhere else instead of just on food.
14 months ago, Sarah Connor weighed 187 pounds. She has lost 67 pounds on the program.
I've been on diets before, and it's almost like this haunting voice behind me.
Sandy Kerrigan lost 80 pounds during the last year.
Even though I would go out to eat and would eat a salad, I would leave thinking, gee, I sure would like to have had something else. But now I eat healthy, and it doesn't bother me.
I guess the word diet just flipped me out, you know? And when I think about going on a diet, I start eating.
Linda Collier was once so desperate to lose weight that she underwent gastric partitioning, reducing the size of her stomach by having it stapled in half. It didn't kill your appetite?
Oh, well, no. I still think about food all the time.
Yeah.
And, well, and then eventually I just kept eating and then stretched it right back out. This medicine keeps me in control. I'm not thinking about food all the time.
How much weight did you lose under the system?
Oh, I've lost 112 pounds.
112 pounds?
Uh-huh.
Over what period of time?
A year.
By combining a stimulant with an antidepressant drug, has science really found a miracle cure? Well, research here at Johns Hopkins University has revealed the alarming fact that too high a dose of the mood-altering drug fenfluramine can produce brain damage. A series of studies on laboratory animals shows that fenfluramine actually destroys the very nerve fibers which produce the brain chemical serotonin. Cross-sections from the brains of drug-treated animals show enormous swelling of serotonin nerve fibers. A large number of them stop producing serotonin and eventually disappear. Scientists warn that the safe range for human dosage is unknown and may be very narrow. There are no studies on the long-term safety of fenfluramine, but so far, some 7% of the patients in Charlotte do report side effects, like depression or memory loss. Judy Driscoll was one. Now, when you noticed side effects, what was it that you noticed?
Immediate loss of memory. And one very strong time that I remember was in writing postcards. I wrote about 10 or 12. But when I started writing the first sentence or the first part of it,
Why? What way was it different?
Oh, I put the cart before the horse, or something was omitted. For instance, a small word, like us, our, for,
You'd leave out?
the. It was gone. It wasn't there.
That'd be a little bit frightening.
I felt helpless, hopeless, but I did not want to admit it. It was frustrating and frightening.
That all went away when you stopped taking the medication?
Yes, it did.
After the doctors in Charlotte discontinued her medications, Judy Driscoll's weight loss also stopped. Frustrating as her experience was, patients whose gross obesity is life-threatening have a harder choice. For many, risking the side effects is a small price to pay.
My response to the risk of the drugs is that my obesity was killing me to start with, that there's no risk for me because I couldn't live like I was having to live. But now that I see that maybe I really can do it, and that I can shop and I can go back to church, the soul that's trapped in the body is coming out.
Hugh, obviously, with the possibility of side effects, this is not for someone who wants to lose 5 or 10 pounds.
No, doctors say it isn't really. It should be prescribed only by doctors who are experts in obesity. But
and,
it doesn't,
and can watch it.
And can keep an eye on it, that's right.
Yeah.
And it's really a breakthrough, though, I think. It's well worth looking into because it's something new and different.
A few weeks ago, we had a woman on who was overweight, who was obese, and she said, all it takes is self-control, and you disagreed.
I disagreed because, you know, there are some people like her who do that, and then they're no longer obese. But she was generalizing that anyone could do it just with willpower, and it's much more complicated than that. It's good to have a chemical help with that.
Thank you for bringing this to people's attention.